The recent attempted purchase of Twitter by entrepreneur Elon Musk reportedly fell apart because there were too many bots or fake participants on Twitter. And it brought to the public attention a problem in social media, which are fake members of different social media, sometimes using this to achieve nefarious ends. And so we're presenting a special Saving America panel discussion. This is your host, Dr. David D. Shine.
I think the key to this is just awareness. It's one of these frauds that's very clever, and if you fall for it, it's hard to find the bad actor. Most frauds, you just trace the money and you can find out the bad actor and you can arrest them and prosecute them. This case, they're probably in a foreign country, and the methods of tracing them through WhatsApp, cryptocurrencies, how you get defrauded, they're very smart and clever, and they've done it in a way that makes them very difficult to trace. And my client was very similar to yours. It wouldn't surprise me if we're not dealing with the same actors here. That's just so common. You mentioned Canada. My case has a connection to Canada. They actually opened up some companies, some LLCs in Canada, and was a legitimate company registered out of Canada. So it's interesting that that person used the name Canada.
Yeah,
I think awareness is really the most important thing for this. Is just awareness. When it's happening to you, you'll know not to be defrauded because you see all these red flags.
And these actors operate in traditional methods, just on a broader scale, with the protection of that digital veil. And so these are no different than credit card theft rings from the 90s, where you have an organization and they share information, they share tactics. And unless you're dealing with the government, though, there are ways, as Vic mentioned, the awareness, being cognizant of not only the number of connections, but also what have they posted or interacted with recently. So one of the nice things about LinkedIn is there is an activity log. And so sometimes if I just see someone's listing as a college education and maybe a brief synopsis of what they do in that area, sometimes you can immediately flag them because it's a nonsensical res ipsa loquitur generated statement that just is a rambling run-on sentence of I am best practices and I like cheese and I am okay. No, you're flagged, you're gone. Additionally, though, with the connections and some of those questions that you asked Dr. Shine, yeah, that you can ask them about the weather, but they might Google that. Some of the ways that I've tricked people, I guess, into revealing themselves is by using outdated information that anybody operating in that sphere would know. You mentioned the shooting. I might reference a company like Pan Am or Blockbuster. And if somebody starts talking about the Blockbuster in their neighborhood, you're shut down, right? Sorry, you don't have one, because I don't have one. So if you're not in this same sphere, so some of those fact checking or validation tools, including requesting a formal link to like their company website. Now, of course, you've got sophisticated folks, even foreign governments, that perpetuate some of this fraud online and manipulation. And so, of course, if they've got those resources, they may have a legitimate LLC or website, but the majority of these areas are so sort of elementary in their construction that they're easily detected with a basic, as Vic said, awareness or due diligence. So you just do that simple checking because they're shooting a shotgun. They're counting on sending out 1,000 requests, and if they get one bite, they've covered the cost of that time. And the downside is we don't get that time back, and we know time is money. So there is an economic harm, not only in losing that trust, but the qualitative loss of time that could be spent networking with actual colleagues who could add value to our employment or our communities, right? So that networking and innovation that comes through collaborative relationships, we lose that because we've got to spend an extra 5 to 10 minutes screening a connection as opposed to just clicking accept. And then we've got to spend another 10, 15 minutes trying to figure out, okay, what is the pitch? If you're promising Bernie Madoff returns, I'm immediately incredulous, because if you're making that kind of money, you don't have time to reach out to me anyway. You don't want my professor salary in your portfolio. That's embarrassing to you. So I'm suspect. But if they can get one of my connections or even waste that time, that's time that I'm connected to them, that they can start panning out and using that validation of being connected to me to build a seeming authenticity or validity to their profiles.
Super. Thank you so much, both of you. You've been our great guest on the special episode of Saving America, talking about social media fraud. This is your host, Dr. David D. Shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast or webcast platform.